Today we need to get into the court rulings and what's going on with the label. We also need to get into apparently Jung Kook believed to not be at combat training and all that stuff. And then we have the situation at the Met Gala getting worse and what's going on with that. But before we get into it, we do have a sponsor for today's video, so let's roll that clip. Alright, let's dive into today's sponsor and a crucial topic, mental health. It's something close to our hearts, especially as advocates for mental well-being. Taking care of ourselves mentally is just as important as our physical health. Don't you think? That's why I'm thrilled to team up with BetterHelp today, and boy, do I have a treat for you. Now, if you haven't heard of BetterHelp yet, let me fill you in. It's not the run-of-your-mill therapy service, it's a game changer. Imagine having access to professional therapy at a fraction of the cost of traditional methods. That's BetterHelp's mission, to help make therapy accessible to everyone. Here's the deal. You start by answering a few questions. They're personal, sure, but they're designed to tailor your therapy experience to your specific needs. Whether it's fatigue, anxiety, or anything in between, BetterHelp matches you with a therapist who gets it. No one-size-fits-all approach here. And here's the kicker. BetterHelp gets the importance of representation. If you're facing unique challenges specific to your gender, orientation, or any aspects of your identity, they'll match you with a therapist who understands you firsthand. Plus, they're all about your goals. You get to set targets and they'll help you hit it. Flexibility, sure. Say goodbye to rigid appointment schedules. With BetterHelp, you can chat via message, hop on video call, pour your heart out in your therapy journal, or even join group sessions if that's what you want. They cater to all ages, from teens navigating the complexity of adolescence to adults facing life's curveballs. And yes, even couples can benefit. Here's the cherry on top. Use the link in the description and you'll snag a sweet 10% off your first month. BetterHelp.com/dumplings. Easy to remember, right? So why wait? Mental well-being shouldn't break the bank, and thanks to BetterHelp, it won't. Take the first step towards a healthier mind today and be sure to show them some love for making this video possible. So the first thing that we need to talk about is something that I didn't really initially want to talk about. And I initially had mixed feelings about it until I saw this one thing. And of course, we're going to talk about it. So if you're not aware, the Met Gala happened yesterday and we got some great photos of Stray Kids. And we've got some great photos of all the attendees there. But I did want to specifically talk about Stray Kids. If you're not aware, they attended with Tommy Hilfiger and they were the ones that dressed the group, and so whatever problems you have with the outfit, it's of course the brand's fault. It's very exciting to see them there, and I think it marked a bit of a historic moment. Now, I believe there were not a lot of K-pop stars to attend the Met Gala. However, they were, I think, the first male K-pop group to attend the Met Gala in its entirety, like all the members attended. And of course, it was very cool to see them in that light because the Met Gala was streamed everywhere. It was very much a big event. It was on TV, I believe. And so a lot of people watched and tuned in, and they got to see a lot of Korean and Asian representation, especially from them. And because it made big headlines and stuff like that, it was something that a lot of people were still talking about even the next day. I mean, look at what we're doing now. Now, I talked about my controversial opinion on the group's outfit and all that stuff. However, that is on yesterday's video, so you can go over there and check that out. But today, I'm not going to give my opinions on that. I'm just going to talk about what happened on the carpet that I didn't think was great. Allegedly, there were some photographers that were from Getty that were extremely rude to the boys. They were shouting things and people initially didn't like that. And at first, when I saw that, I was definitely more so like, what is the big deal here? Because if you don't know, a lot of red carpet events, especially big ones like that, people are screaming at you. And it's not like those photographers were screaming at the boys, but not screaming at every other group or every other artist. They were doing that for literally everyone. And that's why a lot of times celebrities will choose to put their headphones in or whatever it is because they don't want to hear what the paparazzi has to say. Oftentimes it's very rude, it's very loud, and it's very scary. I mean, you want to talk about really bad treatment with the paparazzi, let's talk about Britney Spears and what she had to go through. That is far worse than what anyone nowadays would go through. So initially, as I said, I thought that really was not a big deal. However, some clips came out that I thought were interesting, where apparently there were some semi-racist things. So the first thing was like, oh, they're emotionless, they're like robots and that stuff, and that's like, okay, that's just rude. It's not really racist, but it's rude. But then it got into someone apparently saying arigato, like the Japanese word, after the boys had finished posing and left. Now, I don't know how often these photographers get to attend these types of events, but if you do attend, you should be very grateful that you attended it, because a lot of people, myself included, that would have loved to have just sat in that front row to snap pictures. So if you're there and you're seeing all the celebrities and you're in the presence of all those celebrities, then show some respect to the people that you're photographing. Bottom line is, everything at the Met Gala is recorded. And you see that now because even small moments of what the paparazzi is saying came out. My opinion on this is that if you're going to take someone else's photo and then try to sell those photos, clearly those photos and the person you're taking a photo of mean something and are valuable, so treat them as such. And not only that, apparently some of the photographers' names and a lot of their personal information came out as people were looking into them, trying to get them to apologize for saying said racist things. I thought that was absolutely crazy, and I'm very curious to see what's going to happen next and what people are going to say about those photographers and all that stuff. Now, the drama that's going on with the chart manipulation is still something that is happening. So while there's a lot of craziness that is happening within K-pop, and K-pop is still being pushed forward, there is still a lot of drama that might even potentially end K-pop. Now, if you're unaware, let me quickly recap. There's currently a lawsuit or legal battle that's happening with one of the producers of BTS's label. And then there were people making accusations because of the lawsuit and the drama coming to light of BTS and the label participating in chart manipulation. Now, a lot of the claims were saying that if BTS had participated in chart manipulation, it wasn't their fault. And then they were saying that it was the label that was doing it without the knowledge of BTS. Now, all of this is alleged because this is just what people have been saying. We still don't know if they did participate in chart manipulation. And my guess is that they didn't. And I explained why a long time ago, where I just basically said that it would have been very difficult for them at the time when they were accused of chart manipulation for them to just have contributed in manipulation, because this would have been a time where they were getting #1s and that sort of thing. And what people are accusing the label of doing is like buying albums and that sort of thing for chart manipulation, which they just simply didn't have enough money to do that. They were a very small label in the beginning. Now, it was alleged that in 2017, the Seoul District Court ruled that there was some evidence of chart manipulation. And it was never said, so I'm not inclined to believe that is even true. Many were upset because still people are calling this a rumor, while other people are saying, well, if the court ruled it, then it's not a rumor. However, where is the evidence that the court ruled it? Like, is there a piece of paper that says that? But also, what is the ruling? What is the manipulation? Because what is considered chart manipulation? Is it just them streaming their own music a lot? What is so illegal about what they're doing? Now, before we jump to any conclusions, I want to say that this is just what's been reported. I haven't seen any allegations or any documents stating what the court said or if the court said anything at all. Also, we have to wait until after everything is settled and everything is taken care of behind the scenes before we can make a decision whether or not the label did participate in chart manipulation or not. It's so interesting to see all of this unfold while the boys are not currently active to defend themselves or to say anything. Not that they would say anything to them. I think this would probably be one of those moments where they would have to keep quiet. And I don't just mean because they don't want to address things or even from a PR perspective. I mean, obviously, if there's litigation happening behind the scenes, they can't really talk about it, especially with cases that are this public and there's a lot of stuff going on. And the reason why they can't do this is obvious, right? They cannot attempt to try to get the public on their side by making a public post about it, because that's swaying them. And I believe that it's not allowed. Now, it's very interesting because there were some photos coming out of Jimin at the Korean Combat Training Center. Of course, he was with other people and he was training, and people were wondering where Jung Kook was. Now, there were some rumors where it was believed that a soldier or something in writing specified that Jung Kook, was actually never spotted at the training center. Now, you could have been right and he just wasn't spotted or he just wasn't photographed. We don't know. But a lot of people zoomed in, and the other half of the community thinks that it's one person who has their face covered and it's just their eyes, and they think that that could be Jung Kook, and other people think that it's none of them and he just wasn't ever in the combat center. People were upset because I think the community expected him to do this training, and a lot of people are now saying things like he isn't really serving his country by not fighting or being at the combat center. And then other people rumored that since he is a chef and cooking in the military right now, that he might not be doing any of the combat stuff. And it's likely, right? Other people are asking why even have a buddy system with Jimin if he just wasn't going to be doing the exact same thing as Jimin. And opportunities arise, opportunities that you can't say no to, or opportunities that maybe you didn't know you could get could come up. And then you're like, oh, maybe this is better. If Jung Kook wasn't at the training center, then obviously Jimin had to do their training by himself. And the whole point of the buddy system is to split the responsibility, sort of, I believe, and make it easier for both of them. However, if an opportunity arises, and as I said, he was just like, we could have a much better time cooking and not fighting, then I would prefer to do that as opposed to fighting, then he probably just went ahead and did that, and Jimin gave Jung Kook his support. Let me know what you think. Make sure you check out Patreon for more videos. Link down below. Thanks for the comment right here. Love you. Bye.